Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acomb. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Stu Benz Senior Services Fund section of our program. And joining us in on the interview, Michael and Deborah Joseph. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Now, explain to us why you're here, because I'm starting kind of blind, and I was hoping, we had a quick conversation yesterday, I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about why you're in here today.
Right. So, we've been here many times talking about things like the Tuskegee Airmen. Mm-hmm. And my family is from a tiny island in the Caribbean called Carriacou.
Okay.
Grenada, Carriacou. And one of the relatives that we had, George M. Fleury, he was from Carriacou, a cousin of mine who served in World War II. He was a Tuskegee Airman.
Okay.
And Grenada underwent Hurricane Beryl, and Carriacou bore the brunt of that hurricane, and it was a disaster over there. And so one of the things we want to do is make sure that people are aware of the ongoing needs of the people, and I'm going to share some of that with you.
Well, and I know we've heard about the hurricane, of course, and some of the devastation, but I don't think we're hearing about all of the devastation. You were telling me a little bit. I mean, they're almost completely wiped out.
Yeah. Well, let me give you, share with you the Red Cross report on it. So on Thursday, July 4th, the Grenada Red Cross team conducted a rapid assessment and witnessed firsthand in their total devastation of the island of Carriacou. 98% of the homes, buildings, and critical infrastructure, hospital, electricity, water, communications were knocked out. Urgent needs in Carriacou and Petite Martinique are water, food, including infant formula, clothing, baby products, shelter materials and temporary shelters, tarps, hygienic materials, medical supplies, and water. Now, if you wish to donate to the Grenada Red Cross hurricane relief efforts, there's some banking information that we can post.
Okay.
And so you'll have that. But across the United States, there are several of us who hail from Carriacou. My parents were born there, and I was born in the United States, but still have strong ties. I've been going back since the 60s.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
Are you able to hear, you've been going so often, are you able to hear anything from the ground, or just reports like that from the Red Cross?
So right now, because telecommunications have been down, the cell towers were just ripped away. It was difficult to get through to people. So several days have passed since the hurricane made landfall last week, and it took about 4 days for me to get a communication back from one of my relatives over there.
Does there seem to be a lot of help on the ground?
Right now, there are a few generators being put up, but the devastation is so complete, and people are have started to arrive. In fact, there's a newscaster that is on site that actually witnessed the roof coming off of the hotel that he was in.
Wow.
And so there's some video, and we can see if we can get some of that
please
overhead drone video to show.
So you just recommend, kind of before we go, because there's not a lot of information, we're not getting a lot of information. Right. Is there any place that you'd recommend other than the Red Cross that people go to find out updates on the ground, or is it too early for that even?
Definitely. You can get updates by going to YouTube, and there are news agencies that were covering this.
Okay.
And people on the ground with cameras that are taking video and getting assessments. I mean, if you want to find out the level of devastation, just go to YouTube and search under Hurricane Beryl, B-E-R-Y-L, and Carriacou, C-A-R-R-I-A-C-O-U, Grenada, and you will see the depth of it.
For someone that's been there so often, like you said, since the 60s, how heartbreaking is it for you to see those photos?
It was pretty tough.
Yeah.
And that first night was, it really broke my heart to see that. And you'll see my mother's home, and there's some video of me talking about it talking about the landscape and from my mother's veranda,
Yeah.
and then I'll show an overhead drone photo of the devastated house with part of the roof ripped away.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of my cousins in that region that I'll be showing, their homes were damaged, and you could see them. You know, there's a section of the island that my family is from, and so there's a lot of devastation over there.
Now, have you seen the photos as well?
Oh yeah, I've seen the photos and just seeing the differences
Yeah.
before and after the hurricane. I mean, it is really sad to see the devastation there. I mean,
Yeah.
the people there are just so kind and so hardworking. So it's heartbreaking to see what has happened to their homes.
And how do they come back from something like this with that much destruction? I mean, not to sound overly negative, but it sounds like almost it's overwhelming.
It feels a little overwhelming. Part of it is the geography, I think. You know, Grenada is the main island, and Carriacou is a tiny island off of Grenada. So in order to get anything to Carriacou, you know, you have to take it to Grenada and then either take a slow boat or a freight plane or something to get to Carriacou. So just the logistics of getting supplies to Carriacou is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have seen this kind of devastation before. Hurricane Ivan came through 20 or so years ago, and before then, you know, it's about every 20, 25 years that this sort of thing happens. But this, it has not been quite this devastating to this degree.
Okay.
Where I watched an extensive video of that news person, and I'm forgetting his name. He travels across the country, roads that have been cleared, but power lines are down, and they're weaving through power lines and down trees, and boats up on the shore. You know, it's quite extensive, the damage, but they do rebuild. Every time this happens, they rebuild.
So they will prevail. It's just a matter of when, and that's why they need help. Are you afraid that because there was so much destruction in the wake of this hurricane that they'll be overlooked, or that it's a slower process because there is a lot of need?
It's not going to be overlooked.
No.
I mean, this reaches the level of an international crisis, and it so happens that the United Nations czar on climate change happens to come from Carriacou.
Okay.
So Simon Steele was appointed to that position, I think just a couple of years ago, maybe two or so years ago. And Deborah and I, actually my sister and I, were visiting their island home at that time, his parents' home, and we got the good news, and Simon was able to, he was present at that time. We congratulated him upon his UN appointment, and we're certainly proud of our cousin.
Of course.
So because of him and the attention that has been paid on global warming, climate change, and the effects that we see right there, where just at that house and other locations where the beach used to be 20 feet or so from the shore, and now the waters are lapping right up against the back of their water break.
Right.
We have seen a dramatic change in the rise of sea level, and it's undeniable.
So just before we go again, we'll put that up on the screen, but the Red Cross is the best place for now, and you'll keep us updated on anything that you hear?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
It is a beautiful morning in Carriacou in the Grenadines. Behind me is the Terrell Bay. This is a bay that's popular for the yachtsmen that come here, and the downtown is there. and so there's shopping available for people. You know, it's a well-protected harbor, and so even though storms may come, it's very calm. If you were to look just at, this is our house here, and behind me is McAneal Bay. And this is a bay that has less harbor protection, but it's a beautiful bay. And our family, I'm talking about the larger family here, has owned this area, about 250 acres on this tip of the island for about 100 years. And most of these homes here are family homes. People that have lived here, or some have lived in England, some in the U.S., and over the years, you know, upon retirement, they come back home. So my sister Valerie and I are here. It is March 29th, 2022. We first started coming back in 1965. You know, it's about 55 years ago. And a lot of these homes were not around back then. This was just open country and a few little homes, but times have changed.